Here we are. We got in the mailbag the Sixers reference one. It's like 3 or 4 down. I brought the video up if you want to.
The mailbag Sixers reference one.
Of
that song, the Ben Simmons song. Okay, cool. Yeah, I pulled the audio, but the video is probably better.
I guess I'm not surprised that this is like an established genre, but I'm a little surprised that like the video looks great and like they sound decent. Like I don't know if these guys are big in the.
You mean like Christian rap?
Christian rap, yeah.
Well, there's metal and there's like Christian every music genre. I think.
I thought it was always just thrown around as like a mockery, but this seems like a very authentic, serious genre of music.
The what's it called? The rock part of it, like sometimes those songs when I was working in rock radio would sneak is the wrong word, but you would get a song from that genre end up on regular rock radio. Like Switchfoot was a Christian rock band, and that song Meant to Live like ended up all over rock radio. And there was a band called 1,000 Foot Crutch. And it's funny because every once in a while you would be listening to one of those songs and you wouldn't know. You're like, oh, this is just a normal rock song. And then all of a sudden in the chorus, it's like, he is with us. And I'm like, oh.
Wait a second. There it is.
There it is. I didn't know. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, I guess I'm not surprised that Christian rap is a thing.
Reliant K.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a thing where the band Chevelle, who became very big, was on a Christian label, their first album, which put them in like Christian like record stores and stuff like that. And I guess there was an early part of their career where they like were sort of a Christian band. I think Evanescence is the same thing.
Kanye West, I guess, as of recent qualifies.
Interesting.
Kanye? That's something. Yeah, there's something there.
CJ considers him rock. That's interesting.
CJ's,
no, on the
religious part of it. Yeah. CJ's deep in the anti-Semitic music genres.
Yeah, Spotify curated a.
It is weird that that's a playlist. I think that's weird.
Spotify pushes out like your morning drive, like Discover Weekly, and then your morning Semitic.
Yeah. CJ's hate list.
Morning resentment.
Yeah,
that's good.
Here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Body Bio. Get 20% off anything at bodybio.com with code Mike's Tummy. Mortgage CS, become a Mortgage CS Ricky VIP at mortgagecs.com/Ricky, and Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order with code Dave Silver. On the show today, the countdown to Sixers Media Day is on. AU says the Sixers have ruined the rest of basketball for him. Ramona Shelburne and Zach Lowe talk about the James Harden situation. The listener thinks we're underrating B-Ball Paul. Relationship advice tackles dating apps. And is the Philadelphia sports media too negative? If you're watching YouTube, subscribe right now. If you subscribe, you'll see that we do all of the pods live. And once the season starts, we'll be after games and stuff like that. Turn on notifications. We would love to get to 12,000 subscribers so we can save CJ's life. Kinetic Skateboarding. This has been the last 2 days in the Northeast, the first cool weather. The first real indication weather-wise that we are here in fall. You see, I am wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. This is the long sleeve tee season. It is hoodie season. And there is no better place to beef up both of those parts of your closet than Kinetic Skateboarding. While you're there, you'll see sneakers that you cannot get anywhere else. Vans, Converse, Nikes, all of that stuff. Go to kineticskateboarding.com and use code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. And thank you to everybody who has joined our Bark in the Park team to benefit Providence Animal Center. That 5K is October 21st at Rose Tree Park. To join the team, you do not have to run the race. You don't even have to walk it. You have to join the team, raise at least $50, and you'll get the team t-shirt, which is excellent. We want to raise $15,000 and get 100 members. We have passed the $5,000 mark. So thank you. I think we're at 26 members. The link to join is in the description of this pod. Thank you, Mortgage CS. Thank you, DraftKings. Thank you, LL Pavorsky, for supporting the team. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has curated the most popular hate playlist on Spotify. That is one Mike Levin.
I'm just getting ready for the season. I'm just getting ready for the season.
It is good preparation for that, for sure.
That's it. Happy Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year.
Yep.
Big day for everybody.
Enormous day. You mean aside from Rosh Hashanah or just Rosh Hashanah in general?
End of thought.
End of thought. Okay, here we go. By the way, we are dangerously close to the Sixers season. We are 2 weeks away from training camp. We're a month away or so away from games.
You are not going to watch the games as of now. I think that we haven't really talked about that in a few weeks.
We'll talk about it in a little while. If Harden was playing, right, then I wasn't going to watch.
Okay.
Or if he was on the team.
I leave it to you. If he's on the team and not playing, I think if you want to watch, that's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, as we get closer, we will have to negotiate that. It does seem
the specifics.
Yeah, it does seem as if I'm hosting this podcast. I would have to watch, but I guess people have done crazier things.
Yeah, it
right?
would make you a liar.
If I watched?
Yeah, if Harden played and you watched.
Huh. Yeah.
Because then who could trust anything that you said?
That's a good point. Who could trust anything I say anyway, to be quite honest with you?
I think there's further to fall if you abandon your word like that.
Andrew Unterberger writes for rightstoRickySanchez.com. He is a fine writer. He has been with us for a number of years, and I have noted several times that even when I disagree with him, which is often, I do feel like he captures the mood of the community of people who are diehards to the pod and the team, the just sort of like the vibe of the pod in the written word better than anybody. He writes about how he feels better than anybody, and I think it is reflective of a large portion of the audience. He wrote a thing this week saying that the Sixers have ruined basically the other lanes of basketball for him.
Pretty bleak.
What's that?
Pretty bleak.
Pretty bleak. He writes, when I was a younger man, rediscovering pro sports as an undergrad, I inhaled the NBA whole. I would tape up to 10 games a night and speed through as many of them as I could the next morning. I rooted for some players and teams against others, but I cared about all of them in some way. I bought jerseys and hats for all kinds of teams. I loved the sport, the league, the culture. On my spring break as an NYU senior in 2008, presumably while other folks were doing spring break shit, I got my wisdom teeth taken out and spent a week on my parents' couch, high as a kite on Vicodin and watching Western Conference basketball. The post We Believe Warriors, the late stage 7 seconds or less Suns, the Lakers just after the Pau Gasol trade. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's one of the happiest memories I have. All of this is foreign to me now. After 15 years, I still enjoy watching some amount of basketball at some times in some contexts, but my tolerance for doing it to excess is almost entirely gone. It's mostly a second screen activity to me now, something to do while I'm doing something else. Every year, my appetite for it lessens. Every year, it's tougher for me to get excited about the next season once the previous season ends. There's a lot of reasons for this. Me getting older, the league heading in some directions I don't care for, my moving on with another person who's significantly less interested in watching 20 hours of basketball than I used to be, 20 hours a day. But the biggest reason is, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers. I have some thoughts on this. I'm curious as to what yours are, because it does not seem like that has happened for you. In fact, my gut tells me, based on our conversations every week, which everyone hears, there's actually no other conversations, based on these conversations, that your appreciation for other forms of basketball has almost increased in that time, but I could be reading that wrong.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I go the opposite way from AU here. Partially now that I am a coach. I coach basketball in Los Angeles. Coach Mike. Coach Mike. When she does this, do that. I ran a 1-2-1 zone. Coach my ass off. I have a bigger appreciation for that as well. I'm watching. So then, my partner, Liz, obviously plays basketball. AU's partner doesn't seem like
she does not
as interested.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a bigger thing than AU is maybe acknowledging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watch a ton of basketball. I'm always very excited for college basketball, especially the NCAA tournament. The WNBA playoffs are on right now. They're going well. I haven't said this, I've won my WNBA fantasy championship. Spike, I know you're very invested in that. My third straight fantasy basketball championship.
Wow. 2
WNBAs and 1 NBA. Pretty thrilling. And yeah, to me, I think about it with, as far as the WNBA goes, I think about like, I want there to be a WNBA Philadelphia team, but then like, do I? Like,
do you want to be that invested? Right.
Really?
Right.
Do I?
Yeah.
Are you sure I do? I think I do. I say I do, but it's really nice to not live and die by it. Although I think there deserves to be a Philadelphia WNBA team. I don't know how much I personally would want that on my plate as far as more reasons to be invested
in more teams. Yeah.
So deeply into my teams. But no, I mean, the Sixers, I've thought this for so long. I remember, I've said this maybe on the podcast years ago, but I remember when Oklahoma City still had Harden and Durant and Westbrook, obviously. The SB Nation site for Oklahoma City, Welcome to Loud City, had like this whole article about the playoff rotations. And this must have been 2013, 2014, maybe even earlier than that. Might have been even before the process. And I was like, the Sixers aren't even good enough for me to give a fuck about playoff rotations. That like 2012 team with Lou Williams that you love. Yes. They were so irrelevant. And I know that they won more games than I expected and that they should have. But they were just so irrelevant. And it didn't matter to me at all. And so watching like another fan base give a shit on that level to me was like, it's just, the Sixers are just, prolonging their own death essentially, because that there was no upside to that team. But now that they do have those expectations, I still kind of feel that way because they're not good enough. They still haven't broken through, and they're still, the brand of basketball they play is so, and has been so muddy.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
A pleasing brand of basketball. And so I seek out other good basketball because I like it very much. And I also just like, watching young players improve and go from the college game to the NBA game and see how they can carve out a role and stuff. So I go the opposite way from AU, but I understand the idea of just souring on it all, although that has not been the case for me.
I have a few thoughts. First of all, my personal experience with this is heavily different, only because my specific job involving watching a ton of sports clouds all of this, I think, on some level. But I think I can relate enough to his sentiment and the idea that I can comment on it, I think, with relative assurance that I know what I'm talking about, or I'm not speaking from a perspective that is completely foreign. First, I agree with you. I think the other parts of the other parts of that he notes as sort of supporting factors are much bigger factors than he would allude to. Not just living with somebody who doesn't like watching it, which is an enormous thing. It's like life gets busier as you get older. You have other things. Your career changes, your interests change. Like the idea of just even having enough free time to watch all that Western Conference basketball, which, by the way, I used to do before I lived with my now wife. I would, stay up and live by myself and just watch basketball. I think that is a much bigger factor than he appreciates. But along with that, because he is watching less basketball as a function of his life, the Sixers and the enjoyment that you get from it becomes almost more important and seems more sort of, what am I doing here as you get older? So if he's watching less basketball, the Sixers basketball and their success, that sort of like grows because he's watching less basketball in general, and it becomes more of a bummer that he is not. I think there's also the thing that we have been invested, all of us, in a way that is different from normal sportsing over the last 10 years, with more arguing and craziness and all of that stuff. But overall, my biggest sentiment on this, and I understand as well as anybody does how crazy and disappointing in a number of ways the last 6 years have been. I understand. You got to either stop watching it or embrace it. Those are the only two ways to do this. Check out or check in. Everyone is so, not everyone, I cut that out. So many people are so whiny about the situation. I love that you're invested. I'm invested too. I'm unhappy with the situation. But this whole dread that it's ruining your life, go see a therapist, find something you like, and do that. Like I understand that some of it is hyperbole. Oh, the dread of the Sixers. Oh, like at least it's interesting. There are so many teams that are not interesting. I understand that it's frustrating. I want them to win a championship too. I want them to get past the second round too. But there are so many things for you to do. And I understand not wanting to jump off before maybe something good happens, or you're so invested in all of these last 10 years that you would feel crazy walking away from it at that point. But if it is causing you that much pain, you should walk away. You should stop, because there have been a number of exceedingly cool moments over the last half decade that if you're not enjoying them, if you're not enjoying Embiid winning the MVP, if you're not enjoying him scoring like 50 against the Lakers, if like all of these things that happen, if you do not find enough enjoyment to power on, you should stop watching. And that isn't me. I'm not like challenging you. I just think as a matter of personal health and wellness, you should stop. That is.
Okay. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. Incredible.
Did feel like you were talking to me. I will keep whining.
I was not talking to you. I actually wasn't. I think you have here
we go.
You might have the best, the most like accurate emotional appreciation for somebody who should continue to watch. In that, while I make fun of you for being all in again when you say you're not,
sure,
that is part of fandom. And if you're not enjoying that moment, like I am sometimes, if you can't convince yourself maybe this is the year, then I don't understand what the point of watching it all is, to be quite honest with you, unless you're just enjoying it for watching basketball in a completely sort of non-passionate way. I think your way of enjoying it is actually, aside from the quantity of it, which we're both invested in, is actually remarkably healthy.
It doesn't feel healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not talking about you. I know, not.
But I was receiving it. I didn't think you were intentionally talking about it. I was hearing it on the receiving end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think partly this is why I didn't pursue a career in sports.
Yes.
Because I like having it as a sort of passion on the side.
Yeah.
That I can then go away from when I need to.
Yeah.
This podcast, I think, is probably a little bit more than on the side.
Slightly.
It's close. It's in between. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to consume sports from a healthy level, and I don't know that my therapist would want to hear about it that much. But the Sixers are a particular thing. I don't get as worked up about the Phillies and Eagles. I think likely because they have won or had big success in recent memory. Sixers have not had that success. And I have sort of tied my reputation to them in a way that maybe was unwise.
Well, I have said numerous times that it is both hilarious and incredibly sad that one of the things, maybe the thing that I'm most well known for in my life is liking the Sixers. Mm-hmm. Oh, you like the Sixers? No, not really, but we don't let's not belabor that point. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Body Bio. Go to bodybio.com, use code Mike's Tummy, you'll get 20% off anything. There have been, Mike, this is a lot of listeners have been concerned and have reached out because Gut Plus, one of your preferred supplements,
yes,
the prebiotic, which allows your body to create probiotics and get rid of all of those symptoms, has been sold out for a little while. Mm-hmm. But I have good news. Toward the end of this month, Body Bio will have Gut Plus back in stock. Maybe I'm oversharing, but there were some supply chain issues that made it difficult to create and distribute Gut Plus. But the good news is that by the end of this month, if you order Gut Plus regularly, you'll be able to order it again.
Also, got too popular. This
podcast created such a demand that it was they were unable to keep it in stock.
Even just the idea that I was going to be an influencer for them when the video has yet to be released created such a fury to buy this product.
Yes.
I have also heard that once Gut Plus is back in stock, which coincides with Sweeps Week, that my influencer video will be released.
I'm so psyched to see that.
I don't remember what I said on it.
No, so I have been told by Mike at Body Bio, if you are looking for a supplement that they have that may sort of take care of the same symptoms, butyrate, Butyrate, is a good supplement to try.
I am taking that.
There you go. Or you can wait till the end of the month for Gut Plus to be back in stock. Of course, I love Elite. Mike has had success with Elite as well, a hydration solution. Just go to bodybio.com and use the code Mike's Tummy, all one word. You'll get 20% off everything. We love our partners at Body Bio. Bodybio.com, Body Bio. Now we will get to, in a moment, Ramona Shelburne on Zach Lowe's pod. They do address that sort of sludgy brand of basketball that you had mentioned there. Before we do it, having mentioned therapist just now, it is time for our segment devoted to relationship advice.
I keep my heart under my pillow with my teeth and other lies. I've been waiting on your halo just to shine the light.
The relationship advice theme music comes from our very own Eliza Hardy-Jones, who was also claimed by the war on drugs, but we had her first. This comes from Brian. Hello, Spike and Mike. I'm looking to get some feedback on the nightmare that is the online dating world while in your 30s. I don't know if either of you has much experience with dating apps, but it is not a fun experience, and finding anyone to match with, there's only and that's only where the frustration begins. Anyway, I was excited to match with someone recently. We traded some messages to get to know each other, and all was going well. She even asked if I'd be interested in getting together, which I happily agreed to. On Wednesday, we finalized plans to get drinks the next night in the city. All seemed great. I said I was looking forward to it, and she said, "Me too!" ! Thursday morning, I brought up the app just to confirm we were still on that night and to share my cell phone number just in case she needed to reach me, except we were no longer matched in the app, and I have no way of contacting her. I was unsure what to make of this, but obviously it wasn't encouraging. This brings up my first question. Do you still go to the date? I did end up going, and she never showed up. This sucks, but what really bothers me is the lack of closure. I guess the advice I'm looking for is, what do you think happened? This probably isn't the most interesting relationship advice question, but I hate not knowing for sure what happened. I've been with my wife for almost 15 years. I have never used a dating app. So I've never used that at all. Did you?
I did. Yeah. Before Alyssa. Yeah. What happened is probably she deleted the app. And whether that's because she is tired of it or because she decided to be exclusive with somebody. I would have also still gone on the date, and it is a bummer that she didn't show up and they don't get any closure. That does suck. I think it's important to know for everyone, if you are single and on the apps, no one who is not pretty recently single and on the apps can relate or give advice. It is a singular experience that people just really, I have no idea what it's like to be single in your 30s, and me giving advice to someone that is doing that is wrong because I don't know, and I don't know how difficult it is. I was on the apps like when in like my earlier mid-20s before Alyssa, mostly just for fun. And it's just a different time. And going on now, sort of on like the back end of an uncomfortable time. After you've been there for many years, it's just like, it's not a pleasant thing. So I have empathy, but me like telling you what to do is I think not very fruitful or nice.
Well, I'm going to do it because he asked.
He did ask, I guess.
He did ask. So, but you are well within your right to not to. I as I said, I have not used them, though I do use the internet and texting, and it does seem like in general, people are more the ability to communicate with somebody over, digital written communication allows people to sort of disengage more easily than if it didn't exist. Just stop answering. And I think this happens in many more situations than just dating and just apps, which again, I'm speaking from a position of somebody who has never used one. So I do not know how they use, but I do deal with people a lot. Without ascribing any sort of motivation to what she was doing, whether she deleted the app because she didn't like it, whether she decided to go exclusive with somebody, I think the one thing is clear, she didn't want to go on the date. And if she wanted to go on the date before she deleted the app, she would have probably sent you a note and said,
but like on these apps, like people go on like 4 or 5 dates a week. I don't think she's thinking about it that much.
No, I'm not saying that she's being, I'm not saying that she's being deliberately disrespectful.
It's a quantity game, and you hope, and you just like stack a bunch together. It's like having a ton of second round picks. It's like making picks the entire second round, which was great. It sounds great to me. When I pitch it that way, I actually love it. And I should get back on the apps and make a bunch of second round picks.
I think overall, my advice would be just leave it behind. Don't wonder what happened. If it was high enough on her priority list, you would have heard from her. Kind of sucks. I wouldn't have gone on the date, but I don't blame you for doing it anyway. Look, if you liked her, it's worth a try. What were you going to do anyway? Sit at home? She doesn't show up. Such is life. I think I am very thankful I never lived through the dating app thing. It seems like terrifying to me. But regular dating was terrifying too, pre-app. So who knows? But that's my advice. Ramona Shelburne was on Zach Lowe's pod. They spoke now she wrote the reasonably long, reasonably in-depth, sort of revelatory article on James Harden and Daryl Morey. Mm-hmm. She appeared on Zach Lowe's pod.
Co-written by Doc Rivers, I believe.
Co-written by Doc Rivers, yes, for sure. She was on Zach Lowe's pod where they talked about the article, and I thought there were a couple of things worth talking about. Before we talk about the James Harden stuff, I would just like to elevate and let Zach Lowe know that this is going to end up on my soundboard right here.
Tell you something, young shirtless Brad Pitt and Thelma and Louise. Woo!
There we go.
He's right.
That is staying. I don't disagree.
He's 100% right.
100% right. To be honest, even to this day, Brad Pitt shirtless is an impressive.
Sure, but Thelma and Louise, Brad Pitt, it's a different animal back then.
Yes. The young, hungry,
jeans,
oozing sex. just giving Zach clips from us that he can use later on. So a few things here. First of all, Zach asked Ramona what will happen when training camp begins.
I think he shows up. My gut feeling is that he shows up and they all...
I want to be clear that some of these are edited for brevity, but never edited based on content, and some slightly edited because of ums.
Work it out.
Yums.
I don't know if he and Daryl Morey work it out, but I think he has to compartmentalize and just play it out. Nick Nurse, I mean, look, if you hired this coach who won a championship with Kawhi Leonard, who never wanted to be in Toronto, who played it out, who literally got traded to Toronto. They sort of talked him into being there. He had no choice but to play there because he had sat out the year before in San Antonio, or not sat out, but sat out a lot of games there. I think Nick can make that work. I think Harden he's kept the bridges open with his teammates. I don't know if they're as strong a bonds as they were at the beginning of the summer. It's put them all in a tough situation as well. But he was invited to Joel Embiid's wedding. He did not go, but that doesn't mean they don't like each other. They're still in communication. They still talk. I think everybody involved has this attitude of, this is between James and Daryl. And people in the NBA tend to be pretty good at not messing with other people's money and not getting involved in other people's business. And so, like, you haven't seen Embiid say anything about Harden. You haven't seen Tyrese Maxey or Tobias Harris. When they start training camp, they will all be asked about it. But I'm sure they've had a lot of time this summer to workshop their answers of, we would love to have James back on our team, and we understand things went wrong, with their contract situation, but he's a great player, and whenever he's ready, he'll help us. I'm sure they're going to all say something like that. And he just flat out has to play. I don't know how he can sit out.
Well, the rule of the league, I've said this 10 times already. He has to show up.
Yeah.
Or else the Sixers, by this draconian rule that I did not know about, frankly, before this situation, can block him from being a free agent.
Well, so he can show up and have back spasms. He can show up and have a barky hamstring on day one.
The first thing is, Zach is a wordsmith. The rule is not draconian that you have to go to work if you're contracted to go to work. That's
maybe that you can't play for any other team in the world. It has a draconian feel to it. It doesn't feel like a modern rule.
Well, but your free agency is based on it's
only in the last year of a contract. It feels very specific. Like the rule for Simmons, because he had 4 years left on his deal, didn't apply. It was only in the last year of his contract you have to show up. If you don't show up, then you can't play for any profession. At least the Sixers could block him from playing
his free
in
agency.
Professional league.
It does not seem draconian to me. I do think Ramona makes a good, not a perfect point. It's not a perfect parallel, but the Kawhi thing and Nick Nurse being there for that is a reasonable thing that I had not thought about before. And the more that I think about it, the more that I do not believe this is going to come back to haunt me. I really think Harden is just going to show up and play, and they will end up trading him a month later. I think he's going to play normal. I don't think he's going to pull the bullshit. I really don't.
Wow.
Wow.
I think, sounds like a guy who doesn't expect to do a podcast for a team he hasn't watched.
I just think, as a human, a normal, reasonable human who has gotten away with a lot in his life, this offseason has to have been the most massive reality check in NBA history. Literally, nobody wanted him. Nobody was offering him a deal. The place where the owner who promised he would offer him a deal years ago did not offer him a deal. Nobody did. If he wants to play 4 more years and make a bunch of money. He has no choice, none, but to play normal basketball. And I think he's going to do it. And that I was sort of leaning that way, but her answer, I think, pushed me over the edge.
It's very interesting. Every time anybody, including us, talks about Harden, they start to go like, it starts to bleed into like you're giving advice to a friend, or
Yes,
like, here's what I would do.
Yeah.
And it's like, none of us are James Harden.
Yeah.
None of us are James Harden. And the idea that this summer was a reality check might not have landed.
That's true.
On James Harden.
That's very true.
And the idea that he will just like simply do what is best for himself. Simply doing what is best for himself would have been like trying in game 6 and 7 of the Celtics series.
Both fair points.
Can we go back and like have like Ramona give him some advice about that? I just don't believe the idea that like just because this is the thing that is right for him means he will do it. I do think there's a higher likelihood he shows up and then has a bad back or a bulky hamstring. I think.
You think that's more likely?
Yeah, I think if the 3 options are he shows up and is hurt, he doesn't show up, or he shows up and plays, I would put it shows up and is hurt very, very high ahead. And then
of the other 2.
Yeah. And then maybe shows up and like plays and half-asses it. I don't think he's going to show up and like play well. I don't think he's going to show up and like commit himself to the team. Also, the idea of Kawhi and Nick Nurse. Kawhi was 27.
Yeah.
He's 26, 27 during that season. And Harden is 33, 34. He just turned 34.
Also, Kawhi is famously unemotional, where it seems as if James Harden is only working on emotion right now.
Yeah.
The rights to Ricky Sanchez. But now we're going to get to the name Michael Rubin was brought up. We'll get to that very shortly, right after we talk about Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS, thank you, Mortgage CS, independent mortgage broker right here in the area, right here in the Delaware Valley, who is a supporter of the rights to Ricky Sanchez Bark in the Park team to benefit Providence Animal Center. They have been a great partner, Mortgage CS. And it's always important to us that the sponsors that we talk about, our partners, that we believe in them, that they treat our listeners the right way. They all do. And
we audit them to make sure that everything's good.
What's that?
We audit them in their businesses. We show up in a hard hat to LL's jewelry making situation.
Yep.
We're there for all of it. We're running through the numbers at Mortgage CS.
We call childhood friends, just their childhood friends, just to make sure they have always been good people.
Yeah.
Mortgage CS.
Say be a dickhead. Just gotta ask. We gotta ask. We ask the questions.
Mortgage CS, we have heard from so many listeners who, now is a difficult time to buy a home. Mortgage rates are obviously higher than they were. Having a partner who can lead you through is so important. And Mortgage CS has been such a good partner to so many of our listeners. And it's like fulfilling when we get a note or hear a voicemail about how good they were to them, because it means that we have picked somebody who represents us incredibly well. Mortgage CS is an independent mortgage broker. They do not give you the money. They go to the banks and they find you your mortgage. There are a lot of mortgage brokers that have business relationships with lenders. And then when you're going to them, they may have a different business reason to go to a certain lender than what is best for you. But Mortgage CS does not have that. They're independent. They're there for you at all times, morning, noon, night, weekends, whatever. And they will not only help you through the process, but educate you as well so you know what's going on. I'm giving you their CEO's cell phone number. You can call or text him right now, 267-391-7425. That is 267-391-7425. That is Ben. You can reach out to him at any time, or just go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky, schedule a consultation, and when you're at mortgagecs.com/Ricky, see how awesome that site is. Little drawings of us. It's amazing. mortgagecs.com/Ricky, or call or text Ben at 267-391-7425. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. I thought this quote from Zach was apt when discussing the situation.
You talk about in your story, Harden sacrificing his game for Embiid and expecting just sacrificing his game for Embiid. And like, I'm like 2 years removed from wanting to hear that. It's not sacrifice if the guy is just better than you. And it's not 2017 anymore where you can just ISO 40 times at the top of the arc and win 60 games that way. It's not, the guy is the MVP. It's not a sacrifice if you're making $40 million, averaging 22 and 12 and I thought he should have been an all-star last year. And I thought he was going to make all NBA until the last month of the season when he petered out. None of that is sacrifice. That's not even sports sacrifice.
Nothing more than a good point from Zach. That I believe.
We've been saying that.
Yeah,
we've been saying that for many months,
over and over again.
That is the case. Like, if you want to say like Tobias is sacrificing,
sure,
he's not as good, but like he is being the guy that stands in the corner or whatever.
Else. Yeah.
Whereas Harden is still like getting to touch the ball all the time. He's just so deeply wrong. And you wish that, I guess maybe being a professional athlete and being that good, you have to be a level of like out of your mind. Like, AJ Brown on the sideline, like sort of getting into it with Jalen, being like, give me the ball more. And it's like, buddy, like you had the most receiving yards in Eagles history last year. It's game 2.
Chill out.
Yeah. But that's not what they do, man.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's not what they do.
For sure. And that's, by the way, why an athlete who was a superstar level player sort of evolving into a role player doesn't happen that much, because that sort of mindset is not what they have spent their entire career doing.
Yeah. It's evolving your role and being willing to do it is an excellent skill, I think, as a player and also a human being.
For sure.
And I think reveals a weakness and just a level of, I don't know how, I'm not a psychiatrist, but on the road to narcissism that like becomes very unhelpful to a basketball team when the guy who was the guy still thinks he's the guy
and he's not
the guy anymore.
Yeah, for sure. So then they got to the period in time in which we were before the league, the opening of the league year, basically June, when they were not talking. So there are two quotes we're going to play here. Here's the first one.
James felt like Daryl was ghosting him. Mm-hmm. He felt betrayed. And this has been reported elsewhere, and the reporting from you has also been coming off an off season in which the Sixers were dinged for negotiating early with PJ Tucker and Daniel House. They just were so paranoid about doing it again that they were just not even going to be in contact with James Harden until the starting gun went off. And boy, had James Harden just waited until then, an offer of some kind, not what he wanted, probably shorter, maybe not as much financially, but there was going to be something coming. So my question to you is, what did the Sixers think they were accomplishing by essentially obeying the rules of free agency and quote ghosting Harden? Was it really just the fear of a second tampering charge? Like, if we do this again, the hammer is coming. Do you buy that as the real reason? Or was there some negotiating strategy that they were doing by doing that? Maybe it really is just like, if we get caught doing this again, it's going to be a first round pick this time.
I buy it. I think both things can be true, right? Like, there's always ways to get information to somebody. But I think they, look, you and I both know they weren't giving him a max. I mean, he knew it. He wasn't getting another max there. So why would you have a little birdie go whisper in James's ear or something? Like there's a way that you can pass that information to him if you need to.
It was certainly a negotiating position.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Harden started it is the wrong way to say it, but he started it during the season.
I was like, how are you going to say it? Okay, you're going to start.
Well, he started it by leaking he specifically
on fucking Christmas.
He started it. He started the game. I agree with Ramona there. Do I think that they didn't want to get dinged again? For sure. But I think if they had an open, we've noted a million times, it seems like there's not a lot of communication between Daryl and James's camp, especially for two people who seem to have had a good relationship prior and who have, by the way, been able to whisper to each other very easily in previous years.
Yeah.
You know, we have no proof of that, but that is my guess. There was not communication. It made it more difficult. Harden started leaking that stuff. So I think for sure the Sixers didn't want to get dinged, but also they're sort of like, well, fuck that guy. Like,
fuck that guy.
Yeah. What are we going to
I think if a Max was coming, Daryl would have texted James like a picture of like Max Strus.
Yes.
Indicating that that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Max Kellerman pictures coming in, whatever the fuck. But
which Max? Oh, what? Max. Got it. Okay. All right.
But like, because there was going to be some hurt feelings about negotiating over numbers. It was, well, we are scared about getting dinged anyway. So for, more tampering charges. So let's just sit tight. Let's see what kind of offer he gets. Let's see if Houston is really giving this offer, because I'm sure the Sixers had some indication that they weren't going to give the biggest offer. So why would they negotiate against themselves if they were in a, say the Harden per year range was in the like 25 to 40 million. Why would they immediately go to 40 if they don't think Houston is even going to make an offer? Whether that's because of the Udoka stuff or because of whoever Houston was also trying to sign. There was reports that they were very close to signing Brook Lopez. Were they going to have enough money left between Van Vliet and Lopez to even, all those decisions that they were going to go with? So why would they just come to Harden and say, we're bidding against ourselves and here's all the money we can offer you?
And go to market with this, and you already know what you have here, so we're going to give you a leg up in negotiating in any situation. Of course not.
So it's just gotten ugly. It's just been ugly and messy this whole time. It is strange that it would happen to people as tied, as like connected as James and Daryl. If this was Masai and Kawhi or whatever, like you go like, okay, they had a 1-year relationship and then blah blah blah. But these guys, there's so much history between these two that it's strange and odd that it had to go this way. And now we just wait and see if Harden is getting the realization. I don't think he is. I don't think he's having that realization. I think he is blaming Doc and the Sixers situation and just the general idea of lack of cap room around the league and Daryl's obstinance, and why wouldn't he just trade him to the Clippers so he can sign a rest of his career deal with the Clippers where everything will surely be good, and what happened in Houston and Brooklyn and Philadelphia won't happen with LA, because that's I have to think it as James Harden, like he's just looking at the next thing and he's not blaming himself. If he was blaming himself, he'd be a different person. Like he would be a fundamentally different person.
So then they talked about, well, I'll just let it, more Ramona and this is from, I think I was clear. This is from the Lowe Post. You can go listen to the entire conversation.
One very important thing that I should mention, I didn't write deeply about it in the story, but I think it matters. Michael Rubin was a minority partner in the Sixers and is obviously a very good friend of James Harden's. And he was not involved this year. Like he sold his stake in the team. When you lose that connective tissue, when you lose that person who smooths things out, who has the relationship with the star, it comes down to the other person who has the relationship with the star, right? And that would be Daryl Morey, which is why all the anger seems to be focused on Daryl. So
look, fuck that.
One very important...
Fuck that. All we heard, by the way, was that he was going to operate as some like sleeper cell for the Sixers. I'm sure Michael Rubin, with or without a shirt, God bless him, nothing against Michael Rubin. I'm sure Michael Rubin has a great relationship with James Harden. Are we serious? Are we serious here? Is this a serious thing? Is it really? No, not doing this. Not doing this. No one gets the Michael Rubin out. The Sixers don't get it, and neither does James Harden.
I really like describing him as a good friend.
Yeah.
I think that's very funny. That like imagining them just like hanging out like regular friends
Normal.
and not like
Not taking
he's
pictures.
a billionaire owner of a fucking shitty t-shirt company.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, I won money from him, and I like that's not what friends. That's not friends. We know what friends are.
I'm sure
Right?
they have a good relationship, but
Yeah, I would have a great relationship with anybody who just like handed me a bag of money whenever I wanted.
it's easier to be friends that way. And final thing, this actually made me mad.
And I'm sure he likes James like for who he is.
Sure.
Right? Not that
Because
he's
he's
like
famous.
another famous person that's connected to famous people.
Yeah.
That can come to my party and take shirtless pictures with me
Yeah.
where I don't smile.
Anything else before I go? Okay. This thing literally made me mad, and it makes me think. We've mentioned before, Ramona Shelburne seems to have a reasonable line to Joel. A lot of what she's reported in the past seems to have come from that direction. This specific quote made me a little mad.
And for as much as Embiid and Jokic are pitted against each other in MVP races, there is a deep and great respect for each other. I think there might be a pining for that style of play. I think Embiid looks at that and goes, we should play that way. Like, this is a great way of playing. It's not incumbent on just two guys, or in this case, maybe Maxey or Tobias to get him the ball. I mean, now I feel like we're back in old, like, Shaq era Lakers. Can you get the big fella the ball? Like, this doesn't have to be that way in the modern NBA.
Oh, fuck off.
Joe.
If that's coming from Joel, fuck right off, man.
I don't blame him for all of it. I do think that Doc and to some extent, maybe Brad, I don't know.
All he talks about is wanting the ball more.
It's all he talks about, wanting the ball more, and he's just not a good passer.
No.
The thing that separates Jokic and Embiid is not the kind of offenses they have been dropped into.
No, and by the way, Jokic touches the ball every fucking possession. He's like the cornerstone of the offense. It's him.
Right. But it's the I wonder, we can look at it like as far as like how many the time of possession the ball is in their hands.
Right.
I wonder what that is like. But Jokic gets the ball out of his hands very quickly because he's passing to teammates because he's one of the best passers of all time. Joel has a negative assist to turnover ratio in the playoffs. It's like Joel's very good at so many things. Passing, although he has improved at passing over the last 4 or 5 years, is not one of them. The offense is the way it is because he can't make those reads. He doesn't have that much touch on passes. Sometimes he doesn't have touch on passes. We haven't talked about this in a while because they're not playing. But like, remember sometimes when Joel just kicking it out and throws it like weirdly like 6 feet to the left of somebody?
Yeah.
Like just a direct pass. Like there's his hands don't work in the same way. He has tremendous touch as a shooter, especially from the mid-range. But his passing touch is really not there. And so, yeah, do I want to see them more passing cut, more movement, more back screens, more pin downs with a Nick Nurse offense when Doc isn't just like putting Joel at the nail and then turning around, teeing off? I would love that, yes. But Joel is not capable of doing the Jokic stuff because he's not a good passer, and that's the biggest difference between them.
Joel Embiid, average seconds per touch is 2.6, and Nikola Jokic is 1.82, which is nearly a third less per time he touches the ball. I would
have guessed more for Joel.
There's
2.6.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of dribble handoffs.
Sure.
which he touches the ball and then it's out of his
rebound, hand guard, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So there we go. There is the
But I as much as this is another like this person is not seeing reality, although it's not as bad as Harden, obviously. If Joel wants to play more like that, then that is good to hear.
Sure. So just do it.
Just do it.
What the fuck, man? I like,
Let's see what him and Nick cook up in the lab.
Yeah, just fucking do it.
Show me some passing.
Holy shit. Drives me fucking nuts, man. Joel wants a more free-flowing offense. Fuck right off. Then when you get the ball, they'll just fucking stand there with it for 10 seconds. Unbelievable. Anyway, Mike, Vegas Mike, DraftKings Sportsbook, Vegas Mike. Oh, there's not a line yet for, at least at DraftKings, for next week's Eagles game,
Bucks.
Given... I'm
Bucks
looking
want to know my Bucks.
Your Bucks. Oh, that's right. What'd you get him at? Plus 800 to...
Yeah, I think 850.
Actually, there's the... So we're, a little more than a week from the next Eagles game. The Eagles play the Bucks. Would you like to guess the line on that one right there? Which is not this weekend.
It is there? Eagles
It
Bucks?
is there. It is there on DraftKings Sportsbook.
And is it's a Monday Night Football game in Tampa?
In Tampa. It is in Tampa.
I'm going to say Eagles 5.5.
6.5. Pretty close. And the Super Bowl odds, the Eagles started number 2. They're now tied for 3rd with Super Bowl odds at DraftKings Sportsbook in the futures. Niners are plus 650. Chiefs are plus 700. Cowboys and Eagles both at plus 750.
Hasn't been it's an ugly 2-0 so far.
But 2-0 is 2-0. Everybody's ugly at this time.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to feel like last year's Vikings,
Yeah. And football is back, of course. Football every weekend, college football and pro football, of course. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers, that could be you, bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. You follow Mike's picks, you can make your own picks. You do same game parlays. It's the only app you need to use is DraftKings Sportsbook. Get in on the NFL action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use code RTRS to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code RTRS. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. Somebody in the YouTube chat, LOL Spike hates Embiid. There is no podcast on earth who has stood up for Joel Embiid more than this one. But sometimes you need tough love. I love the guy. Incredibly proud of the guy. Wanting to play like Denver is a bullshit opinion.
Well, not wanting to, but believing he could.
Right.
Let's see it.
Yeah, go ahead. We'd all love it. It'd be great. Fuck. Do it. Pass, motherfucker. This comes from John, writes to rickysanchez@gmail.com. Hi, guys. Long time, occasional, always with an opinion. Probably one of a number of listeners who want to gently challenge your comments last pod, I think this was 2 pods ago, about the impact Paul Reed may have this season. Let me put it to you like this. 1, from Nick Nurse's comments and the current signings, it really looks like Reed is going to replace the George Niang minutes at power forward, and likely Mo Bamba and Petrushev will play backup center role. We certainly haven't signed any other backup power forward. 2, as to Reed's influence, we all know that no one has been bigger supporters of B-Ball Paul than you guys, but you know as well that last year's team was deficient defensively, athletically, and in rebounding. We were slow. We didn't run. We got destroyed on the boards. Reed instantly alleviates some of those issues if he gets 25 minutes a game. Yes, he isn't Pascal Siakam. No, he isn't going to go out on any night and get you 30, but I'm confident if Nurse finds him 20-plus minutes a night backing up Tobias and sometimes playing next to him, he could average 10 and 10 and clearly make us better defensively and on the boards and a better and more athletic running team. Mo Bamba's like barely going to play. I have news for you.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, one of the bigger mysteries to me with Nick Nurse is why Toronto has so few shooters.
Yes.
Why was it Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, and then like a bunch of guys that can't space the floor, really? Even though like Siakam and Anunoby have turned themselves into that, even though, you know, Chris Boucher shot 98% on threes against the Sixers, they frequently just had not enough shooters out there for a modern basketball game. And, you know, Scotty Barnes included, as a young guy that can't shoot so well from the outside. Is that a Masai thing? Was that a Nick Nurse thing? Was that just our identity is long 6'8" guys, and they happen to not be, you know, classically good shooters, although they did just draft Grady Dick in the first draft post Nick Nurse. I don't know. I'm leaning that it was Nick, because he's the one who had the rotation so short. And so how much of the Sixers will be like, we can play B-ball at the 4 regularly, even though he is a limited shooting threat. I'm intrigued by that. Mo Bamba, you know, he likes length and physicality and wants to be on you, and B-ball would be helpful with that. The idea that he's a backup power forward is a little far-fetched to me, because like PJ and Tobias will be rotating in at power forward. Like, you don't need another like kind of slow, old hipped guy to back, you know, playing at the same time that neither of them are like traditional like bouncy wings.
Old hipped. Is that a shot?
Well, it is a little bit. We'll see how your hip. You got a new hip coming in a month and a half.
Yeah.
So the idea of B-ball playing most of his time at the 4, I think would be surprising to me. I would prefer him to play, whether it's him, even if it's him and Bamba. If it's him and Bamba on the court at the same time, like who's the 4, who's the 5, it doesn't really matter. But I'd say most of B-ball's time should not be played with Joel. Some of his time should, absolutely. And that's why it was so confusing that Doc played none of his time with Joel. But the idea that I think you're just taking away some of B-ball's skill and his edge if you play him more at the 4, because then or more at the 4 with Joel, because then there's like less spacing. Where's he going to stand? How's he going to be useful? Once in a while, absolutely. A couple, like, you know, 5-10 minutes a game, sure. But should primarily be the backup.
If I see more than 25 total minutes with Mo Bamba and Paul Reed on the floor, I'm going to become AU. I'm just
25 total minutes in the season?
Yes.
Oh, you're getting that. You're not watching anyway, bud.
Yeah.
Absolutely 25 total minutes in the span of the first 3 games in the first week.
There better not be.
Absolutely.
There better not be.
I'm in. I want a Mo Bamba B-ball Paul pick and roll.
Also from John, 1, I can't see any reason why Mike was dissed so badly, re this island concept, starting to feel like this might have been a setup. Fuck off. A setup? What are we talking about here?
Wow.
And Spike, you'll ridicule me.
Coven?
It could be. It could be Coven. Spike, you'll ridicule me.
Robert Covington.
Covington. Spike, you'll ridicule me.
Right. That is how we always pronounce it. I forgot.
It's Coven. Count our votes even now. Spike, you'll ridicule me, no doubt, but I'm nervously predicting Simmons will be at the very least playable this year, and if not, even better than that. Go ahead, predict it.
Yeah, I mean,
God bless him.
There's just no way to know.
Yeah.
There's.
This comes from. Oh, I like this one. This comes from Raphael. This is where CJ, you can play that old clip if necessary. Okay. Dear Spike, Mike, and CJ, I like to use old Ricky episodes as an insomnia cure. Recently listened to the start of one that honestly could have been from the start of the coming off season, or honestly any Sixers off season. I dare you to correctly guess the preseason that this following exchange came from. Now, CJ, should we just play the audio? Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Basketball, once again. Unfortunately, we tried to stave it off, and it would not happen. We worked so hard. All the controversies over the summer, but here we are with basketball again.
It is weird to watch the Sixers play basketball. It feels like we've had such a strange summer. And then they get on the court, they play a team from a different country, and it's like nothing changed.
Yeah, here we are again.
So he put the answer in this. I have not looked at the answer as to which season this came from. I just forwarded it to CJ and I said, you did it. Do you have any? The only playing a team from a different country I could think of was the China team, but this doesn't, with Ben, but this doesn't seem like that.
I sound pretty tired.
But on a mic, not on a phone.
Yeah, that's true. I sound pretty sleepy. Maybe it was the headset mic.
Could have been.
It could have been. Didn't they play Bilbao? Bilbao Basket from Spain.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
One summer.
Sixers versus Bilbao Basket. That was 2013, which would have been the very first season of the pod. So that doesn't seem likely.
Maybe not. I don't know. It could be anything. My first thought was the strange off season that we'd really lean into it would be the post Burnergate off season.
Right.
I guess I would have guessed.
Well, wait. It looks like they also played. No, this is 2013. I'm sorry. The article's from 2015, but it was once again 2013. Yeah.
So
we sound happy though, ish.
I don't know. Maybe we were just younger.
Yeah.
Maybe we were just less beat down. Definitely pre-pandemic. I'll say it's the 2019, 2020 season, right?
I'm gonna say it was 2017, 2018. Only because of how my voice sounds, and that's all I'm going on. CJ?
The date is September 29th, 2018.
There it is.
So that is after the quiet shot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after the quiet shot, after Burnergate.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. Yes.
Yeah.
It's at this point. Could we do a rerun? Like, would people notice if we just like, hey, I'm out of town. Let's just do a rerun. They're not gonna know.
I think with a little bit of editing, we could air a rerun.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of editing based on get names out of there. Yeah.
Not that many clip shows anymore. Used to be in TV, you get paid for a clip show.
The worst feeling, by the way, as watching TV back in the true sitcom days years ago was when you tune in for a new episode of your favorite sitcom as a fucking clip show.
Well, the cool thing, the better. CJ, you got something to say?
I believe this is the season before the quiet shot.
Oh.
Going into that season.
Oh. Quiet shot season was 18-19?
18-19.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was 17-18. Okay, then that makes sense too. It all makes sense.
So
it could have been any
off-season. The off-season was Colangelo, though, right, CJ? Okay.
Yeah, it was after the Celtics loss.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That had to be it. Clip shows, the better clip shows, not just like, oh, here's a bunch of clips. It's when like you get your characters together and they start talking about memory. There is some new stuff, and then they go like, well, when that happened, that's good stuff.
That's wasn't
how
like
writing should be now.
The 90s clip shows were not like that. Most of them were filler.
There's I think more like the 70s, 80s, it would be like, here's just a bunch of clips.
Yes.
Funny things that happened.
Yeah.
And then 90s, early 2000s, it became like all right, we need some spine to then toss to clips.
Right.
And so you'd shoot like one day of like, whatever friends, the main cast in like an apartment or something, and they'd recall some things. That's how it should be, man. We used to live in a society.
833 Lickface.
Guys, I have a close family member who attended Wharton at the same time as Josh Harris and recently shared an excellent story with me that I have to pass on to you guys. So they were hanging out at a friend's apartment one night, and one of their friends walked in wearing a Seattle baseball jacket, and Josh Harris turned to the guy and said, "Oh, you're a Mariners fan? That's it. Thanks."
It's such a good call.
Great.
All right.
Great. And that's just the kind of like friendship that Josh Harris is not capable of, that Michael Rubin would obviously be so elite at.
Michael
Rubin would have befriended that guy in an instant. in a heartbeat. And we miss him.
We have one clip, one email, and one voicemail left. This email came from Conrad. Conrad says, hey guys, after you guys talked about basketball references in hip hop songs in a recent pod, by the way, a lot of voicemails and emails about that. There are a lot of them. We could do 7 hours of podcasting on all those references. I almost forgot to send you a great Ben Simmons reference. The song is Willie by Christian hip hop artists No Big Deal and Andy Mineo. And here is, CJ has the video of the clip. Here we go.
Big Billy, Big Dilly, the Fresh Prince like I'm in Philly, said they shooters but they Ben Simmons, the pen silly, I talk like I got 10 milli.
There you go.
Okay. He hit the 8-ball.
Ben Simmons reference. Speaking of hip hop.
That's not how you play pool.
Speaking of hip hop, and I don't know who runs the account. I don't know if it's Vinny Paz or not.
Sorry, Spike. You seeing this? He's hitting the 8-ball in the video?
No, because my thing is in front of.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, what's he doing?
He's hitting the 8-ball.
Wait a minute. That doesn't. What's he doing?
I don't know if he thinks he's cool or if like
you don't hit the 8-ball
as like a religious artist. Like that's the way for him to be edgy. But I don't know the mindset behind that.
Yeah, I don't know either. We got a tweet from the Jedi Mind Tricks Twitter account, which is a legendary underground Philly hip hop. Was a couple of guys, was a few guys. I don't know that anybody but Vinny Paz is in Jedi Mind Tricks anymore, but that was a regular listener of the pod and enjoyed the Shark Tank bit. It was really cool to hear somebody. I mean, that is my era of hip hop 20 years ago. So I do not know. What's the name of this group? Andy Mineo and No Big Deal. Finally, 833 Lickface.
Hey there, Spike and Mike. My question is not about the Sixers because, as we all know, the Sixers, they don't exist. But I do want to know what your opinion is on the Philly sports media because I feel like after this week 2 Eagles win, you go and you scroll through Eagles feeds and it's just every single person coming up with a reason that everything the Eagles have ever done is terrible and should be ashamed. And it's just like, why can't we as a fan base appreciate victory? Why can't we as a fan base appreciate excellence? Like, I know the Eagles haven't done everything perfect, but like we all knew we were due for regression. And no one is apparently okay with that. My non-basketball question is if you, Spike, and you, Mike, had to trade places with each other, what would be the worst thing about your life as you are now, Mike Spike and Spike Mike? Thank you. Love the pod. Go Birds.
The first part of it.
Does that mean like I would go by Spike or?
Yeah, I think you would just be me. Life? I think you're just me. Isn't that what he meant?
Saying, hey, what's the worst part of Spike's life? Is that the
CJ, what did you take that to mean? Does Mike have to live as me or is Mike me?
Yeah, at first I thought it was just another like, oh, they trade careers, which we've gotten plenty of times. But I think maybe it's something, like you're living in each other's bodies.
Like an 80s body swap movie.
Yeah, but you still have your own consciousness. So you might do something that Mike doesn't like and vice versa.
Sure.
Maybe.
So first question is, I actually think by and large, the Philadelphia sports media is supportive of the teams and realistic. I think when you're looking at your Twitter feed, you're seeing people who are not media, and there are a lot of like normal people who have a reasonable following, and that is what you're seeing. Honestly, even WIP, which gets a lot of flack for being negative, it was largely positive about the win. And then also, I don't think you understand that if you are a content creator, your job is to create content about the sports team. Your reaction to a win cannot simply be, oh yeah, well, they regressed. They're good though. We expected this. And then just like walk away. Like you have to talk about what happened. And when everybody agrees on the good thing, there's just not much conversation there. So I actually think the Philly sports media, while aggressive for sure, is not unfair. And I don't think that they're negative.
Yeah, in the content of this question of specifically like, hey, the Eagles are 2-0 and local Philadelphia media seems to be like unhappy with it. It's like, you're allowed to be like, hey, it's good that they're 2-0 and also they're playing badly.
Especially when you expect them to return to the Super Bowl, and that is the context with which they're playing the games, right?
It's just, I don't know. There's like, maybe this is like stan culture that I just do not rock with in any way. Like, I can love a movie or love a TV show and be like, oh, but that part sucked. Or that here's an issue I had with this film, even though I largely liked it. Like the Eagles are 2-0, but like they have played bad, and they've gotten incredibly lucky fumble luck wise, and the bar that they set last season is rather high, and it is okay to say that they have not played up to the standards that they have set for themselves, and I think the Eagles would say that. I just don't. Very bizarre to go like, just be happy about everything. If you like it, just say it that you love it. Like, it just seems, I don't understand that. And so it's like, yeah, the Eagles are 2-0. I hope and mostly believe they're going to put it together and play better football. Like, they could play. That's why if the process has taught us anything, or if the Sixers, whatever, it's like the Eagles have not had a good process in their wins. They won, and it's good that they won. It's better that they won than they lost. But the process behind it was not sound. They did not play good, solid football. They can play good football and lose, and you can go like, tough break, whatever. That, I guess, is why, especially in a regular season game, like wins and losses, though they matter, and that's ultimately what matters the most, it's not like predictive in a way that you can go, oh, okay, they won, so all is well. Alyssa said this in her wedding vows to me when she said, "I'll love you." There's something like, "I'll love you when the Sixers win, and I'll love when the Sixers lose, or when the Sixers win but not by enough." Like, it's like, that's what it is. Like, it's like there's more to it than just wins and losses. If there wasn't, then you just like check the box score after the game.
Well, and the stand culture thing that you talked about, the people who say, "Can't you just be happy that they won?" or "Can't you just be happy that?" Well, sure, I could be, and so could you, by not consuming all of this content afterwards.
But I can see how it's annoying if I would be annoyed if everyone was just like, Eagles won, hell yeah, see you guys.
It would be kind of boring.
I'd be like, well, they didn't really play well. They're not. It's unpleasant.
Yeah. I think, and just to go back to the start of it, I think there was probably a time in Philadelphia sports media where the media overall was pretty negative. Now, it is also important to note that the teams, prior to the Phillies winning in 2008 and then the Eagles winning in 2017, the teams didn't win very much either, and there was a lot of failure to talk about as well. So I think the Philly media, by and large, does like a good job at being fair. If anything, I think they sort of lean positive on the Eagles a little bit.
Yeah,
more,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing I hate most about your life.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
So if you're you living as me, I think is what it is.
Wouldn't love the hips, probably.
Yeah.
Wouldn't love not eating meat.
Yeah.
And wouldn't love running so much, not in the context of a basketball game.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't want to not be working.
That's interesting. I guess I see how that's desirable at the moment. Sure.
Honestly, the way you describe your stomach issues and the reason that I am familiar with, well, my wife has, gastro issues, and it can, like, in the same way that having a child or a pet at home can sort of like, you're like, well, I got to plan for this if I go out here.
Big time.
Having to do that for your stomach sucks. And
sure.
I think that would be the number one.
But thanks to Body Bio.
Yes, it's better.
Things are going better.
Yep.
As mentioned in my to come influencer.
So psyched for that. All right. We're closing in. We're closing in on media on media day. It's going to be exciting. Closing in, just a few weeks away. James Harden, baby.
We got it. And
We're all psyched.
you got to do some soul searching if you're gonna watch or not.
Well, I think we need to discuss. I think this needs to be like a group conversation, I think.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. You know.